Hi, folks. So, some of you might have heard the news that the United States of America government, under the direction of President Donald John Trump, has acquired 10% of the global the global chip maker Intel. There is a lot of chatter online with regards to that, with American media condemning this and conservatives calling it socialism, even Democrats calling it socialism. And I just need to weigh into this. The question is why? 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 And as someone who prides himself to be a person who is not superfluous and superficial, and someone who looks at things deeply and thoroughly and look into the impact of things years to come, I'm always astonished by how much Americans seem, a couple of things, seem to take for granted their dominance in the world. Number one, even though America is an empire in decline, and the only person who seems to be really trying to retard this decline in great earnest is none other than Donald John Trump. And Americans are doing everything in their power to oppose him. I find this very bizarre for me as an outsider, as a guest, as someone who is not an American, I'm South African. That have Americans gotten tired of being the most advanced and the most technologically advanced nation in the world? I'm going to explain why that question is relevant now. Number two, I'm also often so surprised at how Americans in general tend to be short-sighted, if I'm going to put it that way. Here is a man who is doing everything in his power to save their nation from destruction, and Americans just seems to be united in short-sightedness. And it seems like Americans are determined to lose this war between America and China with regards to semiconductors and microchips. And Trump is trying to retard this. The war of dominance between China and America is raging hot right now. And microchips and semiconductor technology is at the heart of this war. And if America does not control the manufacture of semiconductors and microchips, it will lose this war. Especially if America does not control the manufacture of the microchips and semiconductors that are needed by American companies and the government, and also needed by American allies. The fact that 90% of microchips and semiconductors in the world are produced in an area that at any given moment China will invade, which is Taiwan, is a huge, huge national security risk for the United States of America. So it only makes sense that one of the largest producers of microchips and semiconductors in the world will in some way fall under some influence of the United States government, national security justification. Because I'm telling you right now, China is not leaving this issue of microchips and semiconductors to the private sector to determine. The Chinese government is actively spending billions of dollars each year to catch up to the Americans when it comes to semiconductor and microchip technology. And they are not very far behind. And they are, in one way or the other, they are controlling the companies that produce microchips and semiconductors in China. So it is only reasonable that the United States will in some way try to control this, because a lot of the wars of the future will depend on the technologies that depend on microchips and semiconductors. Yes, the United States of America has an advantage on 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 the education side and the research R&D, which produces new knowledge when it comes to microchips and semiconductors. This is often done in university in one or two of engineering departments. Actually, not in one or two, in both of them. One of it happens in the electrical engineering department, where most of the microchip sort of manufacturing research goes into, and then a lot of it happens in chemical engineering departments, where the manipulation and creation of novel and new semiconductor materials get studied under nanotechnology divisions. And almost, I would say that more than 60% of all chemical engineering departments in the United States have nanotechnology units, research units, in one way or the other. This is probably one of the most respected research units in any university in the United States, and that is every single chemical engineering department that is offered by an Ivy League school in the United States has a nanotechnology, nanoscience sort of research unit. And then what China does on their part is that, in fact, I would say that even it's probably more than 75% of American universities who have chemical engineering would have a nanotechnology research division. What China on their part do is that they send thousands of Chinese students to the United States every year to do nanotechnology related research, which then directly goes to the issue of building of new novel materials that are used in semiconductor technology. So it's not just in chemical engineering, it's also in chemistry departments. So it's three departments. It's chemical engineering, and then it's chemistry, at some extent materials engineering, but it's mostly done in chemical engineering, and then electrical engineering, where most of the manufacturing side of these materials which are developed in chemical engineering departments are then taken further. That is downstream of microchip semiconductor research, which relies a lot on carbon-based materials. There is the war, this war between the United States of America cannot possibly be decided by the private sector. So Donald Trump will leave office in 2028. And I don't foresee any president of any party divesting America's interest in Intel. It just doesn't make any sense. They are only acquiring 10% of Intel. And in fact, in my view, I think that they should be acquiring more than 10% because of the importance and the significance of Intel on the wars to come. The technology wars and other wars. This is very, very, very important. I don't think how that people understand the generational impact of some of the things that President Donald John Trump is trying to do and is trying to achieve for the American people. Intel, on their part, it is time for them to start returning at least part of their manufacturing operations back to the United States. That is really where the issue is here. President Trump wants Intel to return their manufacturing operations of microchips and semiconductors back to the United States of America. Because whatever happens between China and Taiwan, if Intel is producing microchips in Texas or in California or New York City, the impact won't be as much. Then the next frontier of this war would be who has access and control of the rare earth minerals that are used for the purpose of manufacturing microchips and semiconductors. China has a lot of rare earth minerals, and so is the Democratic Republic of Congo. South Africa also has quite a bit of untapped rare earth minerals. But you just need to keep your ear on the ground to see where the next sort of conflicts are going to happen. They're going to happen in nations that have these minerals, because these minerals are very, very important for the wars to come, for the technological dominance that is being jockeyed between the United States and the People's Republic of China. That is really what that is all about. That is really what it is all about. It is very, very, very crucial that the United States of America is able to control this. I cannot overstate this enough. Cheers, folks. I'll see you when I see you on the next one.